Hi, my name is Justin Denti, and today we'll be answering the question, are the gases of vegans killing all life? So the obvious answer was no, but where did this idea even come from? Javi Puig wrote an article titled, Vegan Gases Could Kill All Traces of Life in 30 Years. His claim was that a vegan diet causes too much flatulence, which is caused by the methane levels to rise, and contribute directly to the global warming. But more evidence is actually available to show the opposite is true, that veganism is better for the environment than the other diets, being meat eating and vegetarianism. So some of his outrageous claims were he stated that the gases of vegans already contribute to 80% of the warming when at the beginning of the century the figure did not exceed 15%. So, but according to this pie chart by the EPA, that's, their job is to monitor these levels. The 80% figure that Javi stated is completely incorrect because the actual statistic is, looky here, only 16%. That's a big difference. And again, Javi incorrectly stated until 2007, the main source of methane emissions were fossil fuels, farms, and landfills. Nowadays, the vegans are responsible for the fact that the presence of this gas has soared, setting off all alarms. But again, the EPA debunks this theory. Of the 16% methane emissions, 23% of it comes from enteric fermentation, which would be flatulence. But Javi stated that it should be majority of emissions. So what he's saying here is that the majority of all methane emissions is flatulence from vegans, which would be classified under enteric fermentation. But over here, it's only 23%, which is not the majority of fossil fuels in farms, is what he's talking about. Look at here is we got landfills and natural gas, and it's only at 23%. So that's not the majority. Javi is just lying. Now, let's answer the question, how bad for the environment is methane? All the claims that Javi made makes it seem like veganism is really bad for the environment and the methane produced is we're all going to die in 30 years. But the reality is methane is not even the most dangerous greenhouse gas that we have to worry about. And a study by Dr. Wilson Flood found that a doubling of the amount of methane in the atmosphere with its present composition would produce a warming equal to only about 1/13 of the warming produced by doubling carbon dioxide. So, to make that in simpler terms, if we were to double the amount of methane we have now, and also double the amount of carbon dioxide we have now, the warming caused by the methane would only be equal to 1/13 of the warming caused by the doubling of carbon dioxide. So pretty much, carbon dioxide is way bigger of a threat than methane. And even if methane could double, well, it will eventually double, but even if it did double, it would take 360 years for it to do so. And it only would account for a minuscule increase in temperature. So that is the least of our problems. And methane does not have a warming ability that is 20 times that of a carbon dioxide molecule. Methane is 7 times more effective at being a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. So pretty much it's more efficient at doing its job. So it's not as bad as carbon dioxide. And Dr. Wilson Flood found that the present changes in atmospheric methane levels pose no environmental risk. So we're doing all right for now. That begs the question, is veganism even bad? According to Javi, all the work that is being done to reduce emissions, research, and development of renewable energy is absolutely sterile if the human being decides to stop eating meat and focus now on flatulent vegetables. Now, a study found by Harvard research Bola and Tatiana compared the emissions from each of these three main diets, which were meat eaters, vegetarianism, and veganism, and found that the original hypothesis that meat-based diets contribute the most greenhouse gas emissions to global warming. So pretty much they found that meat-eating diets contribute more to global warming than vegans, so completely debunking like Javi's entire thesis. In regards to the future, one of Javi's last claims were vegans, with all good intention but with an absolute lack of perspective and respect for the nature, are altering the balance of the ecosystem. Companies such as Campo Frio and Oscar Mayer should be socially recognized as an example of sustainability in contrast with the reckless practices of vegans. In contrast to veganism, there are way more reckless practices in the meat industry, like the runoff of animal feces and fertilizers that end up in the waterways and cause eutrophication. In an article titled Veganism in the Environment by PETA, it states a single pig consumes 21 gallons of drinking water per day, while a cow on a dairy farm drinks as much as 50 gallons daily. It takes more than 2,400 gallons of water to produce 1 pound of cow flesh, whereas it takes 180 gallons of water to produce 1 pound of whole wheat flour. So as you can see, from just growing the plant, it is way more environmentally friendly. It's way more bang for your buck in regards to water. It takes way less water to grow a plant for the same amount of food that it took to grow the meat. And producing a little more than 2 pounds of beef causes more greenhouse gas emissions than driving a car for 3 hours and uses up more energy than leaving your house lights on for the same period of time. So pretty much he's this. I mean, obviously, an article by PETA would be more towards staying away from animals, but they did back it up with evidence as Javi had no sources. And that is it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you've learned something about this, that vegans aren't so bad, and it's actually better for the future that we have more vegans. Thank you for watching.